Ooh, child. We about to get into some Jehovah's wickedness. Now, Jehovah's sickness. News. Okay, so I had to do a little disclaimer. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when you investigating the Jehovah's wickedness, it says, you know, gotta make sure you give a disclaimer, because they're always saying that somebody persecuting them and whatnot. You know, them little apologists that they got online, they always saying that somebody trying to persecute. Okay, you ain't never been in this cult, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, so you could just keep on scrolling, but you can keep watching the video, because this Jehovah's wickedness, aka Jehovah's sickness news. Okay, so let's do a little disclaimer before we get into this video. Make sure you get yourself a little shot, because this what we about to get into. Yo, this mess is sick, okay? Jehovah's wickedness name done went from Jehovah's wickedness to Jehovah's sickness, okay? Now, let me get my little disclaimer out here. Ain't nobody said that all Jehovah's wickedness says be hurting children, okay? What we say is that the leaders of the Jehovah's Wickedness organization, yeah, governing nobodies, yeah, they don't know how to handle child sexual abuse. So now, we about getting some big old juicy bombshell that dropped like 4 weeks ago. And don't be worried, because I ain't gonna be looking like this. Okay, I'm about to go get cute right quick, because I know you ain't gonna look at my video while I'm looking like this. So just let me go, and I'm gonna get cute. I'm gonna sip this, you know what I'm saying? Because you know the rumor is that all of us like to drink, right? You can't listen to this shit without a shot. So I hope you gonna get your shot. Go get your shot. I'm gonna go get ready. And we're going to talk about this grand jury investigation. Back to my channel, you guys. I am Dori, if this is your first time here. It's been a long time since I've recorded on my camera, but I'm still recording on my cell phone because I'm having some issues with my camera. All right, so I hope everyone had a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. I've been away for quite a while doing talk and sit videos. Most of the time you've been seeing me doing TikToks and in my car, because that's just the way life is moving for me. So as I was saying, this is an intro to my newest video, basically addressing some very deplorable. I think the news broke about 4 weeks ago.
As many of you know, our office takes the abuse of children very seriously. We have arrested over 500 offenders for taking advantage of and exploiting children all throughout this Commonwealth. And that work continues here today. The cases that we are here to announce are deeply disturbing. The allegations hard to imagine, while all sharing one common tie. The 19 victims and 4 men who are being charged with sexually violating them are all members of the Jehovah's Witness organization.
It took me a long time to process what was happening. It's a lot to unpack. It is embarrassing, it's despicable, it's deplorable, and it's the start of some justice for Jehovah's Wickedness or ex-Jehovah's Witness victims. I want people to know that when I do these videos, I try to make them really funny, but given the despicableness and deplorableness of the nature of the announcement that was made, I couldn't even make the video funny. I just kind of felt like I just can't believe I was a part of this organization. I can't believe I was a part of something this sick. And now that law enforcement and the government is unpacking the curtain of the Jehovah's Witness organization, they're basically lifting the curtain up as to what really goes on in this organization. And I wanted to say congratulations to Josh Shapiro, because he is now the governor of the Pennsylvania Commonwealth, and he was the Attorney General, and he is now the governor of Pennsylvania. So hopefully he can bring about some justice for these victims. They've now charged 4 people, well, technically 3, because 1 killed himself. That alone is so disturbing and on so many levels. I did film like several videos regarding that announcement. I just filmed a video years ago when they started the grand jury investigation. so disturbing to me, and it's still disturbing because I cannot believe that it has taken law enforcement or our justice system this long to really look into the Jehovah's Witnesses, or the Jehovah's Wickedness, it says. They have been getting away with doing these atrocious things to children for pretty much an entire century. And they have the legal means to silence the victims, the children. You know, they're now adults now. See, kids grow up. And that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen an organization do, is let children get hurt, cover it up. These children get older, and the statute of limitations run out. I guess this has been their game and their angle for years. And they have been definitely getting away with it. And now, because their victim count is just so high that the victims are coming forward, you know, and now the United States government is actually doing a deep investigation when this investigation should have taken place long ago. For now, the victims to just be getting justice. Most of the victims are, like, I want to say my age, because like I said, they've been doing this for over 100 years. Why is it taking this long for them to investigate a real estate corporation that operates under the guise of a religion? They are not a religion at all. 1000% cult. It is just disgusting and disturbing that because they have all that money and they have a lot of lawyers, they're able to get away with it, destroy people's families, and silence victims. It's absolutely appalling, despicable, and atrocious on so many levels that I could not even bring myself to really putting together a video because it's just too disturbing for me. And if you think about it, they have a good little thing going, the Jehovah's Wickedness organization. They have their own judicial system that they utilize. They truly do not believe in the United States justice system, and right off the bat there, I can't see why our United States government and law enforcement doesn't shut them down. How do you have an organization in this country that is allowing children to get abused and then covering it up with their two-witness rules? You have a two-witness rule, and that silences the children. Now, this has been going on, like I said, for years. A lot of the sex abuse victims are probably my age because these kids were being molested when I was a child. That's what's the most disturbing thing about this announcement. The fact that they found four Jehovah's Witnesses being charged, that speaks in volumes. That says that this is just not an isolated incident, but probably a global issue across the entire United States and around the world. Anybody who's Jehovah's Witnesses. As disturbing as it is, I don't even want to say, you've got relatives and family members sexually assaulting and molesting their own children. This is why the children hesitate to tell and come forward, because they truly have no one to help them. I mean, if your father is sexually assaulting you, it's going to take a lot for you to come forward and be like, and tell on your dad, because you know he's probably going to go to jail. The Jehovah's Witness organization is a very sexually repressed organization, and this is why these kinds of problems keep arising. When you have people so sexually repressed, they will do sick things. I mean, like sick stuff to their own children because they don't have any power, and they have an organization of old white men in Brooklyn telling them what to do, how to live their lives, and when to turn the lights on and off. They need to get it going. They should shut them down. They are a disgusting, despicable, child-abusing, family-destroying cult. I understand that government's never going to shut the Jehovah's Witnesses down. They're never going to shut any religion down. Is the government's mission or their goal find the crimes or control the crimes? They're not going to target the belief system, not going to target the shunning. Shunning is sadly not a crime, while it does destroy people's families because you're shunning based on a false belief system. It's still not a crime, so the government really can't do anything about it if your parents are foolish enough to follow a doctrine that makes them shun their children and destroy their own family because they're brainwashed. The government can't really do anything about that, because if they did, They would have to go for the Jews. They would have to go for the Muslims. They would have to go for the Mormons, the Scientologists. They would have to go for all those religions, because all those religions shun. And all of those religions have different reasons for their shunning, like apostasy. And all those religions subscribe to apostasy, but they have different definitions of what an apostate actually is. So if you're thinking, oh, the government's going to come in, see that they're a family destroying cult and shut them down, you're sadly mistaken. That will never happen. And I hope anybody who watches my videos know that I understand that that's not my goal. My goal is to expose atrocities and crimes that are going on in there. But they can't really do but so much if the victims are too terrified to come forward and truly believe that they're bringing reproach on Jehovah's name, because they are brainwashed. So they really believe they're going to lose their family and they're not going to go to paradise. So the government's basically saying, well, if these foolish people really think that, believe in this doctrine and really believe in it, we can't really do anything about a belief system that's false. Whether it's false or whether it's true, you have the right to believe what you want to believe, and you also have the right to shun whoever you want to shun. Very reason why I just pretty much go towards the child abuse and the CSA, the child sexual abuse, because that is a form of punishment and torture that some Jehovah's Witnesses do use on their children. I wouldn't say all of them do it, but it's a big problem in this organization, but it's very covered up. And the victims are very, very scared because they don't want to lose their families. So it's about time that our United States government is finally cracking down, because Norway has already cracked down. Russia has already cracked down. Australia has already cracked down. The Australian Royal Commission, if you didn't watch that, you need to watch it, because they exposed everything. They dissected everything. And Jehovah's Witnesses do not protect children whatsoever. As a matter of fact, they recruit prisoners fresh out of jail and into the organization, and they marry women. A woman marries a man that she thinks is a good guy in the Jehovah's Witness organization. Son is just playing me out, y'all. And he goes on to molesting her children. One more point I wanted to make very clear as well. Many of us, especially myself, is very, very passionate about child sexual abuse, right? I'm so passionate that, you know, I have my thoughts about what we should do with rapists and pedophiles, but that's not neither here nor there. When it comes to child sexual abuse, the Watchtower also pushes it back to families. Because if the families are the ones harming their own children, or their relatives are harming children, or whether there's a predator that comes into a congregation inside a Kingdom Hall and the elders do not warn members of this, nor do they warn, nor when they cut the predator loose or move him to another Kingdom Hall, they don't tell that either, because they don't feel they have to. I think everybody has their own thoughts and opinions when it comes to pedophiles and sex offenders. Like I said, in the real world, we have what is called a registry, but that registry doesn't work if people cover it up. And the biggest problems, I think, happens in the Jehovah's Witness organization, and it's not just in the Jehovah's Witness organization, it's actually out inside of the real world. Real world families, a lot of families, when they do have a rapist or a pedophile in the family, they do not report that person to the police. They cover it up. It's the family code of what happens in this house stays in this house, and don't tell our business in the public. So when it comes to law enforcement getting involved in such crimes, law enforcement has a very difficult time if the predator or the perpetrator is related to the victim. And the victims have a hard time too. It's a really sad reality when it comes to child sexual abuse, especially if it's done at the hands of a parent or an uncle or an aunt, because families tend to also hide predators too, because we can quickly say, hey, kill all pedophiles or kill all rapists, until the rapist or the pedophile is related to one of us. And there's where the politics come in at, as to, are you going to report your brother or your nephew or your aunt or your mother to the police? And one perfect example I have of that is I had a huge falling out with my Jehovah's Witness mother. Really bad situation. And what happens when it comes to a head, when it gets really ugly, when it becomes a domestic violence situation, when it's time to call the police, and you are heavily indoctrinated, brainwashed to a T. You're already programmed and trained that you do not call law enforcement on your family members. And that's how a lot of these crimes get swept underneath the rug, because a lot of people just don't see themselves putting their mother, their father, their uncle, their cousin, or their brother in jail and they sexually assault them. And that's what makes this whole entire announcement deeply disturbing, because it's like, wait a minute, are you trying to say that families are involved in molesting their own, children? Some are.
The grand jurors heard testimony from Elam's daughter about the sexual abuse she suffered, including being forced to perform oral sex. She told the grand jury about her father's practice of using sexual molestation as discipline in the house where she was growing up. She reported this abuse to her mother and to other members of her community. Through the documents obtained during our investigation, we obtained a summary of a meeting where Elam told others that the accounts of sexual assault must be true if she said them, because, quote, his daughter does not lie.
You had the young lady whose mom told her to lock the door when her father was home. I mean, that's just so disgusting and deplorable on so many levels, because it truly does show that in this sense, children, they're not protected, not if their family is sick. And then you have to think, well, what's causing the sickness? Well, Jehovah's Witnesses just have this deep focus just on getting to the paradise, that their sexual urges go ignored. Their sexual urges go ignored. They get bored because they're getting a wash of the same information over and over again. That can conjure up and cause people to act sick to their own kind, because they're very sectioned off from the world. So this is why this is happening. But again, like I said, there's nothing really the government can do about that. They're like, well, don't join this organization. So that's where we come in at, telling people this is what goes on in the insular community. You want to join a church, you want to join a sect, you want to join a cult because you believe in God. You don't need organized religion, because there's just too much crime and corruption that goes on in organized religion. If you want to call it a religion, I call it pyramid schemes, but that's just me. These are a lot of things that happen in the Jehovah's Wickedness organization. So anyway, I'm very, very happy to know that finally it looks like they're being investigated. Finally, maybe they'll get some RICO charges. I don't know. Finally, they can bring this disgusting, despicable, deplorable cult to justice, and we will all watch it go down. I will keep following this story, but I said, like I told you guys, it's very difficult for me to stomach it. It's disgusting. It's sick. It's deplorable. It's atrocious to know that a lot of families are going through this. You got a lot of children being sexually assaulted by their own relatives, some of them their own parents. That girl that I mentioned months ago, I don't know if it was in Texas or whatever. Yeah, that was her father. Her own father was raping her and then throwing death threats at her. And this is what happens when you have an organization who has their own judicial system, does not follow our United States justice system, and takes matters into their own hands. They do their own investigation and they cover it up. Then they silence the victims and threaten the victims that they're going to lose their families if they say anything about these cases to the public. These cults should not exist. They do nothing but exploit people and destroy their lives and the lives of the children that are born into these cults, because then you have to spend the rest of your life deprogramming yourself and trying to heal from the damage that this cult, what good do they bring to our country? And another thing that really angers me is the celebrities that have been former Jehovah's Witnesses. They do not raise awareness about this cult because they are scared of this cult, or they literally just don't care. I just don't see how you could know that this is actually going on or has been going on and have witnessed some people who have experienced these atrocities atrocities in this cult. And when you leave the cult, you don't raise no awareness. Like, you raise no awareness. You just, oh, whatever, I'm just going to ignore it and pretend like I was never a part of it. And I'm just going to move on with my life. And I find that selfish and evil, because I feel like if you know something, you should say something. You know there's children being hurt. You know that there's children that just is not getting any justice, and you claim that you're such a charitable individual, but you are doing nothing to help this horrible situation. But like I said, it gets harder and harder to do, just seeing how disgusting this organization is. But I am happy to start seeing victims getting justice. Your comments down below as to what you think, how you think this is going to play out. In conclusion, I want to say this announcement shows a lot of progress in a lot of ways, but it also makes me extremely angry in a lot of ways. I cannot believe that the United States is just now investigating this despicable, horrible cult. United States has a huge problem with just allowing any religious institutions to just operate. And a lot of these religious institutions aren't even religions at all. They're strictly just money-making pyramid schemes. But what I have a huge problem with is the fact that children are involved in these huge money-making schemes. The children are trapped inside of these cults and organizations. And our United States government they know they're aware of this. They are so aware of this. They turn a blind eye. Jehovah's Witness organization creates a environment where the people are so sexually repressed that they start resorting to touching their own children. And I hope I don't get banned off of YouTube for saying this, but you have people having relations and incestuous relations with their own children under this organization, because this is an organization who section themselves off from society. They look at themselves as being totally separate from the real world. So it's a very insular community that has these debaucherous, sick relations going on and under this umbrella. What would you do? Would you really stand up to your family? Would you really walk away? To find this out, that this was happening when I was growing up, when I was figuring this out, it was like, wow, I wonder how many other people in this world are probably in organizations, sects, and groups that are doing this to children and covering it up. We've got the families who are involved in these things, where it's called, what happens in this house stays in this house. What happens in the family stays in the family. It's sad. But anyway, I can go on and on and on about this grand jury investigation. So far, this is progress. This is really good that they charged 4 people, and one, like I said, out of guilt and cowardness, took his own life because he knew what was about to go down, that his time was up. You see, Norway has shut them down. You see, Russia has shut them down. You see, Australia ain't fucking around with them either. Now we're waiting for finally the United States with their slow turtle asses to get to the bottom of this disgusting, despicable, deplorable organization that does nothing but cover up child sexual abuse and incest. I want to say shout out to all the victims, because y'all are so brave. You know, it takes a lot of a human being to say, listen, I'm going to stand up against my family. I'm going to stand up against my mother, because I am a sex abuse victim, and they're telling me that this should be allowed, that this is the way it goes, and to leave it in some Jehovah's fucking hands. Like, get out of here with that Jehovah nonsense. This is disgusting. This is despicable. This is the very reason why I left that organization, because I cannot have a solution to sexual abuse and rape and somebody tell me that I'm supposed to be okay with leaving in some Jehovah's hands. Leaving in Jehovah's hands my ass crack. I'm going to get justice, and I'm going to expose this disgusting, despicable, deplorable cult. And I am so happy that Josh Shapiro and the Pennsylvania Attorney General and all the ExJws who worked on this. I do know Barbara Anderson is a big one. She's a big Jehovah's Wickedness researcher. She has been researching the Watchtower. She actually worked for the Watchtower, and this is probably how far she has gotten. Her work is just impeccable. Hopefully I will get this up soon, because I've just been busy. And like I said, they know that people are busy. The Jehovah's Witnesses know that once you leave the organization, you're going to be busy trying to survive. A lot of ExJws are trying to, we're survivors. A lot of us do not have the time to constantly follow and expose the Jehovah's Wickedness cult. They know that. They know you have bills. They know you have other things to do. They know that, like, you don't want to be talking about them all the time. Try to expose the crap out of this organization whatever way we can. But anyway, I want to thank anybody for watching this video. Feel free to like, feel free to share, feel free to comment what are your thoughts on this announcement. And I will see you all in another video. Peace out, y'all.